Now I'm going to show you guys how to set up VMware and Kali Linux. A couple basic things about VMware. Clicking inside a window lets you use your mouse inside of it. Press Control Alt to get out of it and use your mouse on your local machine again. Each VM, when you go to settings, you can see things about VMs. Each VM has its own memory dedicated to it. If you find your VMs are slow, you might want to raise this value. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM on my desktop, so I can devote a lot of it. If you're running VMware on a laptop, I suggest you put a lot lower of a value, like the recommended 1 gigabyte. This panel over here shows you the VMs you're already using. Green means they're running. Pause means they're suspended. If you want to add new ones, or there's nothing there because you're just starting out, you want to hit File, Open, and you want to go over here and browse for your VMX files, which will be wherever you extracted the folders. Just dig deep, not that deep, right here, and it'll add it to the sidebar for you. Your VMs are shown as tabs. So booting each one up will be just like booting a real computer up. Log in and use them like normal computers. So I'll give a demonstration of how to network them together. Now for settings, probably the most important setting you're going to have here is the network adapter. Bridged and NAT will give you internet. Custom will not. But in order to do tests on a test network, you're going to want to use custom. So first, pick bridged or NAT, doesn't matter. Hit OK. And when you select this, use DH client E0. What this will do is give your computer an IP address and connect to the internet. If you're familiar with the DHCP server, that's what it's doing. It's contacting the DHCP server, getting an IP address. So now we can connect to the internet. You might want to go do a test. Make sure you can connect. Load a web page real quick, or the simplest method to check if you have internet on any computer is just ping google.com. If you get replies, you're connected. So now that we have internet on Kali, we're gonna do. No, that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna do 3 things real quick before using any tools or programs. We're going to apt-get update. This will update what we have so far on the computer, the packages we have. We're going to apt-get dist update, which will update our distribution. I've already done so, which is why it's giving me an error. But this will take a while, so sit tight. The last thing we're going to do is MSF update, which will update the Metasploit framework that Armitage runs off of. Once you've updated those 3 things, you're going to start 2 services. The PostgreSQL server, or no, not server, just start. By the way, that's the syntax for starting a service in Linux. Service, the name of the service, and then start. So we're going to start PostgreSQL and Metasploit. They're already started for me, obviously, but you're going to want to start those 2. Once that's done, I already had it running, so I had to close it. Just type Armitage, it should run. Or you can find it in the Kali Linux menu, exploitation, network exploitation, Armitage. Now for the connect menu, for your own purposes, you're going to leave all this default. But at competitions, for team efforts, the host is going to be, if you're the leader, the team leader, or whoever's leading the attack, this is going to be your address. 127.0.0.1 is a loopback address, meaning your machine. If you're not the leader, you're going to put the leader's IP address on here so that everyone can connect to the same Metasploit server, Armitage server, and share the attack. It's known as a team server. Port doesn't really matter. User pass, leave default, connect. Always click yes. You can minimize that shell, but don't close it. You're going to see this window for a little while. Just let it run. Armitage will come up. And normally nothing will be here. This is just for my last run, my last test run. If it asks you what an attack computer IP is, you put your IP because you are the attack computer. So now that we've done all our updating and everything, before you do any exploits or try to network, you're going to go back to network adapter, set it to custom. And you can pick any of these, although obviously if you're going to attack things you don't want to be host only. I always pick 2 or 3 because 0 has been a little buggy for me. So I'm going to set mine to network 2. For anything, make sure they're all set to the same VMnet. Because it's very frustrating when they can't contact each other, and that's why. So now we're going to make sure our IPs are correct. So for Linux, the way to find your IP is ifconfig. Now as you can see, it'll list all the interfaces by default. If you just want to make it a cleaner output, ifconfig E0, which is your wired connection, which is what VMware uses. So you'll see my IP is 192.168.230.122. Let's go on Metasploitable. Same deal. 192.168.1.2 is my IP. So let's make sure they can talk to each other. Ping 1.2. Okay, destination host unreachable. Now here's the thing, when you pick IP addresses, you need to make sure they're under the same subnet. That's networking terms, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but just to keep it simple, you're going to want to change your IP, which can be done by typing ifconfig, the interface, and then the new IP you want. We're going to pick 1.1. Now let's see if we can ping Metasploit. Now it's working. So Kali is 1.1, Metasploitable is 1.2, and XP on a Windows box, you're going to go to Control Panel, Network Connections, Local Area Connection, you're going to right click, go to Properties. You're going to go to Internet Protocol, TCP IP, Properties, and here's the menu for it. If you notice, it gave me a little box down here saying conflict. So we're going to change it to 192.168.1.3. Gateway is going to be 192.168.1.1. Doesn't really matter. As long as the gateway isn't something outlandish from the IP address. So we're going to ping backtrack. Kali works. Ping Metasploit works. Let's ping Windows XP from Metasploit. Works. Wonderful. Now you can do whatever you want in Kali. Make sure you always check those couple things. The network setting, and the IP addresses of the actual machines. When you're done with your VMs, I always go to power, suspend. Unless you're doing an update on the machine, there's really no real reason to turn it off completely. Especially since a lot of these are old operating systems, and since they're virtual, they may take a long time to boot up. But now, when you're ready to resume it again, you can just click resume, and it'll have the same windows up you left off with. Sort of like hibernating, if you've ever used that on a real computer. That concludes my setup video. If you have any questions, just leave a comment.